All right, good morning everybody. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Chris Ackerman. I am the marketing manager at Victorville Transit. We'll need to get some of these curtains here. All right, so we gotta get those so you can see the presentation today. As Kevin said, and there's nothing more nerve-wracking than doing a presentation in front of your boss, your first one about the company. So all pressure's on me today. I joined Victorville Transit after 26 years of marketing and graphic design in October of last year. So while I was getting things set up, getting my way around, I had big plans for 2020. This is where I was supposed to go. In the beginning of the year, I was going to do a huge campaign for our TouchPass app and card. Now, a TouchPass app is right on your cell phone. You can download it, load how much you want to go on the bus, tap it, and walk on. So I was getting ready to gear up a whole big marketing campaign around that. Along with that, we had National Transit Driver Appreciation Day that was going to happen on March 18th. Now, I built this up for 3 weeks. Every day for 3 weeks, I highlighted 3 transit operators, talked about them, how long they've been with the company, and what service they provide. We had out of this world barbecue planned to come and feed all our drivers. We had certificates for them. We had gift cards for them, and guess what happened? COVID-19 came around and took it all away. And that was the end of both of those for the time being. COVID-19 first impacted us. Now, when it hit the U.S. shores, we had a big challenge on our hand because we were both educating ourselves and we had to educate our passengers as well. So everything was flowing. We had to think about how to protect our operators and staff as this thing was just barreling down in March. What came about, a lot of what I do is social media marketing for the Transit Authority, and I'd usually put something out, maybe 2 or 3 things a day, depending how busy and what was going on. It became almost hourly. I mean, we became almost a COVID-19 task force over there. We had to deal with the fact that, well, if people aren't going to be going out and doing anything and they're hunkering in their homes, we're going to have less riders. So we're going to have less buses. And that led to, we've got a lot of people working for us. And how are we going to keep them employed? So I'm going to start. That's how COVID-19 tried to attack us. And we're going to show you in a second how we went back on them. First thing, and this is probably the biggest thing that we did, is we talked about the directors talked about how are they going to keep people employed because we don't need as many operators with COVID-19 hitting. So this great plan came up, the A and B team. So instead of doing a seniority type of thing and having to send people who had been with us less home to collect unemployment, we came up with this, the A and B team. So on the A team, which will say are odd days, they'll go out driving. The B team will volunteer to help clean buses, clean shelters, clean any high touch point areas. And what we did, what VVTA did, was if someone did both the A team and volunteered for the B team, it didn't matter if they worked 28 hours a week. Victorville Transit picked up and paid them their 40 hours a week. Now, if there were some that didn't want to do the B team, said, I'm not going to do any cleaning, well, they'd still get paid for their A days or their driving days, and then they could collect unemployment for their missing hours. So we wanted to make sure that we kept our staff employed, and it was really good, and they've really enjoyed doing it. And the teams would go out every day, go all over the Victor Valley, cleaning the bus shelters and making sure that we kept sanitary. Now, back at the yard, we had staff cleaning the buses and sanitizing the buses every single night as well. So we were doing our part, and some of these operators really liked cleaning. I'm going to show you right now how much they like doing it. So, while COVID-19 attacked us, well, Victor Valley Transit, we decided to hit back. So I'm going to go through some dates and how quickly things started. I'll show you some examples. So we're going to start in March of this year. March 10th is when it first hit. We were getting all this information. Coronavirus is coming. It's not in China. It's not in the Middle East. It's not in Italy. It is in the United States. And so the first thing that we did was we put out car cards. Now this was just explaining to our passengers what COVID-19 was, what the coronavirus was, and to make sure you wash your hands for 20 seconds. Make sure you cover your mouth when you talk. And if you're starting to feel feverish, just stay home. That was the first thing. 2 days later, this whole thing had snowballed, and we started a full COVID-19 social media campaign. One of the first things, just about 5 days later from that, we started, to protect our drivers, we started rear boarding, because we didn't want people coming through and having close interaction with our operators. So we had rear boarding going on. And then we decided, well, we can't really collect money from the back, so we're just going to suspend the fares and let people ride for free. And this whole time, information is just coming out. We're talking about essential passengers and what jobs were essential and where to go. Then we started doing some social distancing, we were learning about social distancing and how that works. So we put car cards on the buses from there. We did our lobby, we had to close our lobby. So we did that just a few days later after that. The following day, we started a Stop the Spread campaign, telling people what to do because, like I said, information was very fluid and coming out very fast. 2 days after that, we started if you're sick, stay home campaign. Here are some samples. The one on the top left, that is our first car card, or that was our social distancing one. And then we have our if you are sick, stay home. And of course, the one that was on all of our buses was please enter through the rear doors because no fares were going to be collected. In April 6th we started, we have not just our fixed route, which you see the big buses, we have our ADA passengers, which are our senior disabled door-to-door service for them to get to appointments. Well, as you see when you go into a lot of places, we had to develop a questionnaire for them. And so that way anytime called, wanted to be picked up their home, we had to ask them a series of questions and make sure they hadn't been exposed and deal with those situations. And then it became out, you have to wear face covering. So we started our face covering mandate. Now that was really interesting. I'll show it to you on the next slide. But that graphic was picked up by several other transit agencies nationwide. And that's one of the great things about being in transit. We all work together. It doesn't matter what transit agency, where you're from in the United States. That's so good that we all work together. And so they said, hey, we need your graphics. No problem. We passed it on. They put their name on it and used it for themselves. Exit at the end of the line on April 9th. We were noticing that because there was no fares being collected, some people were just riding the bus all day long. And we needed time to clean our buses. So we had to start that to make sure people got off the bus so we could properly clean and sanitize buses. Mandatory masks to ride. We'll show that in a second as well. And then we began on-site testing of all operators and staff, which is still going on right now. So anytime anyone comes to work in the morning, we have to go through a special gate, be tested, have our temperature taken, and be ready to go to work. And if you're not, well, you got to go home. But luckily, nothing like that has really happened yet. And then we started doing seat restrictions. So I'll show you some of those. The no mask, no service, we have those on our buses right now. So you have to wear a mask to ride a Victor Valley Transit bus. Our social distancing, this is our simple Stay Home, Stay Lives campaign. And then that one is talking about the mandate to wear face masks, which was picked up from several transit agencies nationwide to use. Now, May last month was really neat, and I'm excited to share this. Every day we were getting information, and of course, as COVID-19 continued, we had to reshare information. So all the social distancing, wearing a mask, we kept reminding everything, but we thought, you know what? This is where the Frontline Life comes, because as Kevin says, we are a critical business. But I would be watching these shows, concerts, for COVID-19 at home, and I kept seeing they would always be mentioning, which rightfully so, medical care professionals, teachers, first responders, and maybe they would show like one or two little glimpses of a transit operator. And I thought to myself, those people driving our buses, working on our buses, doing maintenance, okay, they need to work and provide their families. And they could have said, no, I'm going home. I'm staying away. I'm going to shelter in place at home. But they didn't. They kept working. And I sat there one day watching one of these shows and I thought, those people driving those buses, they're the ones living the frontline life too. And it kind of became my goal in the month of May to really promote them and let the community know they're behind a bus and they are heroes. They are doing a great job out there. So what we did in May to promote the frontline life of Victor Valley Transit operators and staff, first thing we did, we made sure they had masks and all materials available because it was very hard to find in the beginning. We started our Food and Fun Wednesdays. Now, Food and Fun Wednesdays we would do, of course, mostly on a Wednesday, but we started with, we delivered Jimmy John's to all the drivers on the route. Then we did some barbecuing back at the yard and we fed all of our drivers. Now remember, our operation is open 24 hours a day, so that means that's a lot of feeding going on. So we would do some homemade stuff, and then we decided, well, let's support some of our local business. So we got El Pollo Brothers, as well we got Hawkins Burgers to come out, and we just fed everybody. And we did that every Wednesday. We actually went out on route, one of the funnest ones, is we went out on route one day, in the back of a Ford Flex, we made homemade nachos. And we went to all the different transfer points, our main hubs throughout that, which is in Victorville, Barstow, Hesperia, and Apple Valley, and we fed them. And every time they got there, we would feed these drivers, and it was a whole lot of fun. The Boy Scout visit. The gentleman who runs our parts department, he's a Boy Scout troop leader, and we heard this story about how the See's Candy at the Victorville Mall had to, of course, shut down. They had 500 pounds of candy they had to get rid of. Now, See's Candy little lollipops, 500 pounds is a lot of candy. So they gave it to the Boy Scouts up here, and they said, we need you to get this out to all the essential workers. So they went to the sheriff's department, they went to the fire department, they went to the school districts, and they gave out this candy. And they came to us and they said, we want to give this out. So one morning they set up a little tent, and they, as every staff member and driver came into this yard, they gave them a bag of See's Candy, and they just love that. The next one on our list is, my eyes be keeping on that, is the COVID-19 bus. Now, Kevin Kane, our executive director, he sent out an email to all the staff one day and showed this statue with this mask on. And we kind of took that and ran with it. And a lady by the name of Sandy Martinez, she's our local craftsperson who works in our admin shop. And she created that mask for us, and we put the eyes on it, and we just parked it. We just said, hey, this bus is going to be out there. It's not going to be doing anything. It's just there to show support, that we're with the public, we're with our first responders, showing how much we support everybody. The first time we parked that at our hub at 7th Lorraine in Victorville, as soon as we parked that thing, people started walking up to the bus going, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. And can I take a picture with it? I mean, they just love this. And so we took it around for a whole week to all of our different main transfer points and left it there for the day. And it was a really, really, really great campaign. And then we rounded out May with some community outreach where, you know, a lot of people can't get out, don't want to get out. And so we worked with the Benjamin E. Jones Community Resource Center, and we had some staff members volunteer, and they would go out and just pack up cars. The cars would line up, and they would load up prepackaged food, and we would do that about at the end of every week. And it's been a great campaign. Now here's a time right now where I'm going to promote, because I'm going to be showing videos. Now, here, I got a lot of great videos to show you from our Food and Fun Wednesday, the Boy Scout visit, the COVID-19 bus, our community outreach. So this is where I'm going to promote for everyone here to please, if you're on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, to please like Victor Valley Transit on there, on any one of those platforms, because we show all these videos. We're creating videos all the time in marketing for the Transit Authority. And I love to see it, but I can only show one. And so I thought today we are highlighting our frontline staff. So let's have some fun, and let's show you some Food and Fun Wednesdays. All right, so that's our Food and Fun Wednesdays, and we'll be continuing on that in this month as well. Now we're in the present month of June. Now June 1st, it was time, and we started doing front load boarding again for our passengers, and with that we re-began fare collections. Our lobby has reopened. For the front door boarding, we have designed some vinyl curtains, a barrier that keeps the passengers separated from our operators, so it keeps everyone safe. Our rear door exit only, I said, no mask, no ride is still in effect right now. We've changed our seat closures a little bit because we had a lot of families that wanted to sit together. So right now we have 4 seats behind the driver closed off to keep our driver separated, and then we're just kind of keeping an eye on it and making sure people police themselves properly and sit as far apart as they can. We also have extra buses on standby because right now we're allowing about 20 passengers on a regular sized fixed route bus, and we have extra buses waiting at our time point. So as we start getting more passengers, things are slowly getting back to normal now, slowly. We're having those extra buses on there on hand, so if we need them, they're ready to go for our passengers. And we are keeping our Sunday schedule at this point. The reason for that is because we want to revamp a little slow, because we don't know what's going to happen if the government's going to say pull it back, and we're going to have to pull it back. So at this point, we're going to keep Sunday service. Our next step through July and August is July 6th. We plan to move to Saturday service. Sunday service is 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Regular service is 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. So we're going to go to a Saturday service, which bookmarks about an extra hour in between. And then the whole plan, hopefully, with this thing going back to normal, our country, is hopefully by August 3rd, we'll be back to full service. Now, when I talk about the Frontline Life, I'm talking about not just the great things our drivers do, but what they're doing for our community. Now, as you see, as I told you on our social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, official VVTA, you can find us there. And I do a lot of filming out and about in the community. And one day I was out there doing some filming. I was shooting what's called some B-roll footage, just getting the driver turning the wheel and things like that. And I was sitting on the bus, we were separated, had a mask on, and I noticed a lady sitting on the bus, and I introduced myself to her as Chris Ackerman, the marketing manager. And she looked at me and she goes, I am so thankful that VVTA is still riding, is still operating. She told me, her name was Martha, and she said, I have to go on the bus every day to my doctor to get blood work done. And she said, without Victor Valley Transit operating, I don't know what I would be able to do because I have no one to drive me. And that just really hit me. And that's when I thought these drivers and staff members, they are really living the frontline life. And that's really a good description of what the frontline life is in transit. And you may still be asking yourself, well, okay, that's okay. Well, really, what is the frontline life? Well, I'm going to show you right now. That's Martha. And that's Victor Valley Transit Authority living the frontline life. So if you have any questions for either Kevin or I'd be happy to answer them. Mike?
So I know in retail and different places, people have even gotten violent when it comes to when they're asked to wear their masks. You mentioned about wearing that. Have you, and I'm sure you have, can you talk about any of the instances that your drivers have had with you?
We've had very few, but we have had a couple where we've had someone get on the bus and say, I don't want to wear a mask. And if they don't, then we have to call in authorities. We first call into dispatch, and then we call into authorities, and then sometimes they come out, and most of the time they'll leave the bus. Once we say, okay, we're calling the police, you can't ride the bus. But most people, we had one lady the other day who right there went into her bag and made a makeshift mask so she could ride. So very, very few instances.
First couple of days, people took their shirts off and wrapped them around their faces, so just to make it happen.
Yeah, people.
We haven't had much trouble.
Yeah, no, not at all.
That just surprises me because you hear about grocery stores and different things. I really would have thought on the buses there might have been much resistance.
No, not at all.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
One of the things Chris didn't mention, and I thought was important, is
Those
B drivers. One of the things that they did is all of our disabled passengers who ride the ADA service, they would call them up once a week and check on them, do a wellness call, see if they need anything, how things are going for them. So that was something else that was pretty good.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, I guess we made our point. I guess I got it.
Good job.
All right.